More than 200 volunteers worked on this project. What challenges did they face? And what blessings did they receive?
Ons huis verkopen.
We had to sell our house and close our business.
Laat je iets vertrouwen.
It's a step in the unknown.
Had to quit my job.
Ja, het was toch wel.
It was exciting to step out of my comfort zone and rely completely on Jehovah.
Did you notice a common thread in the volunteers' comments? Any economic concerns they may have had just faded in the background, didn't they? They reached out to help, and in turn, Jehovah helped them. In fact, the Assembly Hall project was finished at a lower cost and a year earlier than originally planned. And did you note that after the project, some who previously felt they couldn't pioneer reduced their secular workdays and are now doing what they thought was out of reach? It brings us joy to see so many making adjustments and reaching out to do more for the organization.
Good morning, everybody.
Howdy.
On this beautiful, warm day.
Yeah, it's almost summertime, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
I know it. Now, as you've seen in the first clip from the June 2017 broadcast, it's interesting because these people are selling their homes, closing their businesses, quitting their jobs, slaving for the organization.
Oh, no. Slaving for Jehovah. See, that's the impression they give, isn't it? See, all of these Jehovah's Witnesses that are selling their businesses, quitting their jobs, and giving up their entire life's routine for Jehovah.
Well, I got a question. If the society didn't encourage people back in 1975 to do this, what do they claim now?
Yeah, nothing's changed. Yeah, but it's interesting that at the end of the clip, and this is the absolute disconnect for the Jehovah's Witnesses, because he says it brings us joy. Shouldn't it bring Jehovah joy? No, he says it brings us joy to see so many reaching out to do more for the organization.
Not Jehovah.
Not Jehovah. So in the first part, they present all of these people making life changes for Jehovah, and then at the very end, these idiots are so stupid that they can't even write any coherency in their script. They say reaching out to do more for the organization. So now, these Jehovah's Witnesses are absolutely viewing the organization as Jehovah. And this is sad because this is the disconnect that these people live with.
Yes. Now, Kevin, I was talking to you on the phone, and this is also for all of our new subscribers who don't know about the Beast yet. And you older ones, you know that we were sent the Beast, and we call it the Beast because it is Watchtower's history that comes out of the abyss to bite them in the ass. And this is the Beast. And these are data disk. 4.7 gigabyte each data disk. There's over 350 of them. This is the Beast. So, Kevin, that's the Beast.
That's the Beast. Okay, something else we want to share real quick is we got a really nice letter from John Newsom, if you haven't seen his channel.
John, you were so sweet. Just love him to pieces.
Yes. But he would like to share this because he recognizes Kim and I have a much larger viewing audience than he does. And thank you for this honor and privilege, John. But what John is doing is he come up with just a little note that what he does in his brand of activism is that he goes into parking lots, say like Walmart, places like this, and he just puts this little note under everybody's windshield wiper. Now you have to keep in mind, friends, that as indoctrinated Jehovah's Witnesses, we were taught how to be propagandists. Salesmen. We were taught how to overcome the fear of approaching people. We were taught to put little handbills in our shirt pocket so that we're in the grocery line and you want to do some little idle chit-chat. Well, here's a little tract that explains. It doesn't mean because we become XJWs that we can't use our training in reversing it against Watchtower. I mean, by all means, I think we all should be doing it. And there's been times when Kim and I have gone to grocery stores and we've taken little notes like this and pinned them up on their information board. Oh, excuse me, the bulletin board. Now, wait a minute. Now, I'm kind of confused because are these information boards or are they bulletin boards? I mean, you know, Watchtower's even confused that for us, haven't they? Because if you're in a Kingdom Hall, it's not a bulletin board, it's an information board. Do you see how the nonsense just never stops with these people? But anyhow, this is what John just simply states in his little note. And thank you, John, for sharing that with us. He just writes, friends, please be warned about attending meetings of Jehovah's Witnesses. There is a Kingdom Hall on Airport Road. Now, obviously, you can, rewrite this to where you have a local Kingdom Hall. This cult is being investigated by the Australian Royal Commission. There are thousands of child molestation cases in this cult. If you do go to a meeting and have children, then be very careful that you have them under your care at all times. If you do go and your children have to go to the restroom or for a drink of water, then please go with them. The Jehovah's Witnesses were recently banned in Russia and are under investigation in the UK. It poses as a religion, but it is in real estate business and book publishing and invests in the stock market. Be careful of this cult when they come knocking on your door. They are very smooth and slick. Thank you. A Christian that's been there. Very, very powerful, very short. And quite honestly, when we've received things like this that somebody has stuck underneath our wiper blade, we take the time to read it. It's very short, very direct, right to the point. And like I just said earlier, we were all trained to be propagandists. So why not use this training against them? Just like public speaking. We were trained to be public speakers by Watchtower, and now here we are on YouTube speaking in front of the entire world fearlessly. Yeah, we get our criticism. Of course we do.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. But that comes with the territory. But see, Watchtower has told us how to even get by that type of criticism. Have faith in Jehovah. He'll get you through it. Well, no. It's intestinal fortitude is what it really comes down to. So thank you, John.
Yeah.
It's a very
freedom fighters.
Yes, it's a very simple but effective way to alert the world around us that the people knocking on your door Saturday morning are, what do you say, smooth and slick. And we just demonstrated in this video, because in the beginning of this broadcast, they give this appearance that all of these people have changed their life's course for Jehovah, giving up everything for Jehovah. But then at the end, he goes, it brings us joy to see so many reaching out to do more for the organization. Shouldn't it have truly been? It brings Jehovah joy to see that so many are reaching out to do more for him and to advance kingdom interests.
Nope. No,
see, that's how slick and smooth these men are.
Yeah. Now, I want to mention, thank you so much, Greg, for the private message on Facebook. It warms our heart to see a new YouTuber who started doing his own videos, and we're going to put the link down below to his first video. And we watched it, and it's like, excellent job, excellent points. And he has this list that is available, and I believe he said he had the link under his video to it. But it's just a list of what is in the finished mystery, which was Studies in the Scriptures number 7.
Yes, and before we get to that, because when we were looking at that list, we thought, oh my God, look at how confused. Look at what kind of confusionists these Jehovah's Witnesses are. And we actually delved into this a little bit more, but I want to read
We were actually
some.
up quite late last
Yes.
night.
Yeah.
Because we were too riled over this stuff.
Thank you, Greg. Not only do we miss a lot of meals because we're on the phone with dear friends, but now we also miss a lot of meals because we're doing, other research to augment what you've done. Yes. But I want to read something from a book that I once started. I started reading. Apostles of Denial. And I found what was written here on page 4, not so much enlightening, but I never really thought about it from the perspective that is described here. And then when we looked at this list here, it's like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. This is what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. They are causing trouble for other Christians. I want to read what he writes here. It's on page 4.
And who is this?
This is by Edmund Charles Gruss.
Okay, he's written some other XJW books.
Yes, and I know that a lot of XJWs tend to badmouth stuff like this because, when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you're taught to destroy other religious beliefs as being lies.
And defend Watchtower.
And everything else. And when you come out, I'm looking for the right word, that ability to destroy God in your own belief system is now in your hand. What do you choose to do with it? So anyhow, he writes, the work of the witnesses among nominal Christians and new converts has caused the Church of Christ much trouble. And haven't they done that? With a missionary background, William Needler, in his book, Christian Answers to Jehovah's Witnesses, rightly states that their work is parasitic on established Christian work and very confusing to new Christians and to those not well grounded in the reasons for their belief. So I found that very, very telling that someone else uses the word that their work is parasitic. And when you go back and read something that was published in the Finished Mystery by Rutherford, you really have to begin to wonder, what kind of opium were these guys smoking back in that day?
Hence the title.
Yeah, because you just can't come to these things unless you're smoking opium or something, because, my God, I mean, we just did a video, our last video, oh man, there's just so much right now going through my mind.
You can't remember our last video.
Well, because I'm not having a senior moment, I'm having an antique moment.
What's the difference?
There isn't. It's just the way it's being termed.
Too many days in the hot sun.
Yeah, too many days in the hot sun. I'll come back to my train of thought here.
I just want to mention that Greg, like I said, he had this list of what is in the Finished Mystery. Now, we happen to have the Finished Mystery. This is the 1917 edition. This was the first edition. Pure gold. If anybody has this, hang on to it. And there's just some things on this list that he didn't cover, or maybe he just barely touched on them, but we want to cover some of this stuff from the actual hard copy, and we want to mention, witnesses, this is not old light versus new light. This is your foundation.
Right.
This is what your religion is based on. Now, we know Rutherford, in that great schism in 1917, and Rutherford, took everybody in a different direction and eventually left the Bible students completely. But this is your foundation. So you should pay attention to this.
But here's the qualifier. You go back to Cali Girl's video where she's talking to those two JWs, and the black JW says, we were Bible students.
Yeah.
So there's the qualifier for all of this, Jehovah's Witnesses. As much as you try to distance yourself from the original Bible students, those words still come out of your mouth. Why? Because they're still up here. So this isn't old light.
Well, I've had phone calls and they say we're Bible students.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
you're
said,
not.
are you Jehovah's Witnesses? No, we're Bible students trying to help others learn about the Bible. Are you Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, yeah.
You see, you've really got to press it because, well, as John says, they're just slick.
Yeah.
They're just slick and smooth.
Okay, so you done? We ready to cover this first thing?
Yeah, well, that thought that I wanted to get to real quick was our last video on the soul. As we did that, and it wasn't until after we got finished that something really popped into my mind about that whole thing in Ezekiel 18:4, because I know that for a lot of people that leave Jehovah's Witnesses, and we get asked this question a lot, why do so many become atheists or anti-theists? Well, one of their argument is that God's a real son of a bitch because he makes the sons pay for the sins of the father. But you go back and put Ezekiel 18:4 into absolute context. God is asking, what is this parable that the sons will pay for the sins of the father? Read Jeremiah 8:8, because Jeremiah 8:8 qualifies that their scribes wrote sheer error into the law of Moses. Read it. Then you'll realize that that argument has just now been taken away, because you cannot ascribe this type of evil to God, that he's going to make the sons pay for the sins of the father, because God is exposing that that parable is not right. And Jeremiah exposes that sheer error, just like Watchtower's writing sheer error into their theology. And this actually works against Christianity, or as this man says, the Christian Church of Christ.
So Jehovah's Witnesses, are you ready to learn a little bit about your history, your foundation?
Probably not.
Hang on to your socks. Okay, the first thing is on page 103 in the Finished Mystery, 1917 edition. Page 103, top of the page. Was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands. The number of the great company will apparently exceed 100 millions. And Exodus 28:1 indicate but one priest to each 2,860 Levites, which would make the number of the great company, the great crowd, approximately 411,840,000. So they have the number of the great crowd. Even though the Bible says no man was able to number, they have the number here.
You see how frustrating this can be for, the Christian Church of Christ? I mean, I just love this guy's work. I just love what he says earlier. They cause much trouble.
Well, that's what we're here for, to cause the witnesses trouble.
What goes around comes around, Watchtower.
Yep. Okay, now going on in this little gold. This thing is worth its weight in gold. Page 188. Oh, towards the bottom. They have like the chapter and verse, because this is actually going through Revelation. 12:7. And there was war in heaven. Between the two ecclesiastical powers, pagan Rome and papal Rome. Michael, who as God, the Pope.
So not only do they equate Michael the Archangel with Jesus Christ, now they're back in, they equated Michael the Archangel as the Pope.
Yeah, so does that make, since they believe Jesus is Michael the Archangel, that makes Jesus the Pope?
The Pope! Inhale even deeper, Jehovah's Witnesses.
And the next thing, and his angels, the bishops.
Oh my goodness. Boy, this Rutherford. No, but see, Jehovah's Witnesses, this is your foundation. This is an old light. This is what your organization was built upon.
Well, I can tell you why. From page 202. England is importing 5 million pounds of opium per year.
There it is. And most of that probably went to Rutherford. and all of those Bethelites publishing this crap and writing this stuff up. I mean, honestly, you have to be smoking something if you're sitting at a typewriter typing up this kind of crap and believing what you're typing. My goodness.
Now this goes along with the first clip, and this is this should be the nail in the coffin. Page 276. The fourth bold sentence down. It's chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven. This is their comment. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the corporate body, which Pastor Russell personally organized to conduct the harvest work. This voice has been exerting continuously since 1884. Our thought is that it is the Lord who calls his people out of Babylon. The call is to be recognized especially as a voice from heaven. Apparently the voice is present truth.
Oh, but wait. Hold the phone. We're not inspired. See? But yet right here, when they take Revelation 18:4, the voice out of heaven, the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, how in the hell can you not equate what they're saying here and contrast that with their recent, flutter of bullshit by saying, well, we're not inspired? My goodness.
Okay.
The disconnect is huge.
Well, the governing body may not be inspired now and producing pure spiritual food, but back then they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the book. Page 295. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the anger of Almighty God. The Lord assumes an interest in and responsibility for the complete series of studies in the Scriptures. So you may not have pure spiritual food and be inspired now, but apparently you were back then.
At least this was.
Okay.
God almighty.
Now, Greg didn't cover this, and this is the one that got us so riled last night that we couldn't sleep and we had to look into this. So hang on, Mikey.
I know.
You guys are going to love this one.
Is this the one from Revelation 21?
Yep.
Okay.
Revelation 21:17. And it's page 323 in this book. Now, if you have a later edition of this or the PDF, it may be on a different page, so you just kind of have to, go through, but it should be about in the general area. 144 cubits according to the measure of a man. The measure of a man, the man Jesus Christ, is 1,000. His day is to be 1,000 years in length. Adam's day was 1,000 years long. The total measure is 144,000. The number of the elect. We should expect to find the number of those rescued during the millennium shown somewhere in these measurements. Okay, so in this we also find the cubit in symbolism is flexible in length, like the word day. If we multiply the number of square furlongs in any wall by the 144 measures of a man, i.e. 144 million times 144, the result is 20,736,000,000. The estimated number of the sheep class at the end of the millennial age. And then they have a note right here, Zion's Watchtower, 1905, page 271. So even though Rutherford, finished this book that Russell was working on, it's like, okay, well, Rutherford was the one that was probably drinking. Did Russell really say that?
Drinking? They were also smoking opium.
Yeah. I know it's really old. You can't see exactly what it is, but this is the bond volume from the Zion's Watchtower.
Remember, this is your foundation. This is not old light. This is your foundation, Jehovah's Witnesses.
You can see, this is the actual hard copy of Zion's Watchtower, 1905. Page 270, 271. This is the September 1st, 1905. And it is the last letter, because these are letters to Brother Russell at the bottom. Dear Brother Russell, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says, in your comments in a tower of recent date on John 12:24, you said that our Lord's going down into death brought forth much fruit. The first fruits, the church, the 144,000. Thinking on this, it occurred to me, will not the church, as so many grains of wheat, by virtue of our Heavenly Father's blessed arrangement in Christ, going down into death, bring forth the same amount of fruit in proportion? Reasoning thus, I found that if one brought forth 144,000, that number will bring forth 144,000 times 144,000, or 20,736,000,000.
No,
So-
that's 20 billion.
Oh, 20,736,000,000.
20,700,000,000.
There we go.
Yeah.
And so he's asking if this is where, and then Russell just answers, no, that's not where I got my calculation. But he doesn't go, he says, I had not noted this correspondency, and hence it had nothing whatever to do with my calculations of the world's dead.
So they were trying to calculate how many people have died.
And that's
Wow.
all he says. So
Yeah.
he really doesn't go to explain where he got this number, except in the scripture. And they say this backs this scripture?
So now here's another good, old-fashioned, classic example of Watchtower taking things completely out of context. Jehovah's Witnesses, the only thing you know about Revelation 21 is verses 3 and 4. And you know this by heart. With that, I heard a loud voice from the throne say, look, the tent of God is with mankind, and he will reside with them, and they will be his peoples, and God himself will be with them. And he will wipe out every tear from their eyes. And death will be no more, neither will mourning nor outcry nor pain be any more. The former things have passed away. That's the only thing Jehovah's Witnesses know about Revelation 21. That's why Rutherford could come out with this nonsense at Revelation 21:17, because you don't even talk about it anymore, because this became, and it still is today, an absolute embarrassment to the Watchtower Bible Tract Society. Because when you read chapter 21 in its entire context, you read this. Verse 1, and I saw a new heavens and a new earth, for the former heavens and the former earth have passed away, and the sea is no more. I saw also the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, and prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. Then you go into 3 and 4. Now you go on and it describes more about this New Jerusalem that comes down out of heaven. And as you come down and read verse 14, see, this is where the Jehovah's Witnesses get it all wrong, because if you go back, I meant to go look for it, but I didn't find it. But Jesus Christ in Scripture tells his 12 disciples, and I have 12 thrones. Not 144,000. I have 12 thrones. And you are the ones that are going to get the 12 thrones. So he goes on, verse 14, Revelation 21. The wall of the city also had 12 foundation stones. That would be his 12 apostles. And on them, the 12 names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Not 144,000 names, apostles of the Lamb. Then he goes on. Now, the one who was speaking with me was holding as a measure a golden reed, that he might measure the city and its gates and its wall. In the city lies 4 square, and its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with the reed 12,000 furlongs, and length and breadth and height are equal. Also, now here's verse 17, because see, this is the one that Rutherford come up with the 20 billion people at the end of the 1,000 Russell at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ.
That's why I read the 1905 Watchtower, because it actually came from Russell.
Yeah. So verse 17. Now you tell me, Jehovah's Witnesses, how in God's green earth can you come up with that number that these idiots came up that, founded the Watchtower Bible Tract Society? Bless you.
Thank you.
Verse 17, also he measured its wall, 140 cubits, according to a man's measure, at the same time in angels. They're talking about this heavenly Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, measuring how large this holy city was going to be.
But you
And
don't
yet they-
understand. See, it says right here.
Oh, please instruct me, oh great one.
Yeah, see? Shown somewhere in these measurements.
Somewhere in the measurement.
Are these numbers. See? The result is the 28.7 billion, the estimated number of the sheep class at the end of the millennial age.
Well, there you have it. I'm absolutely convinced. I'm going back to the Watchtower Babel Crap Society. I had it wrong.
Because see, if he can measure the pyramids and get the day of 1914, well then he can measure New Jerusalem and get the number of... See? Simple!
But, Jehovah's Witnesses, go back. I encourage you to read Revelation chapter 21 in its entirety. And when you get to verse 27, pause and reflect what verse 27 says, excuse me. But anything not sacred and anyone that carries on a disgusting thing and a lie will in no way enter into it. Only those written in the Lamb's scroll of life will. When you deny your foundation, you stated that this come from God. When you deny this foundation,
responsible for it.
Yeah, God's responsible for this. There is no way. There is no way that you can enter into that holy city, like the scripture says, because you people are a disgusting thing. You people do nothing but cause problems for other Christians, and you lie about the deity of Jesus Christ. Go back to Cali Girl and listen to that Jehovah Witness say, well, Jesus' body rotted in the tomb. You are now lying about prophecy when it says in his body will not see.
Would you like to see what they say about Revelation 21:20?
Oh, please do tell.
Page 332. And there shall in no wise enter into anything that defileth common. No one who could or would contaminate others by speech or example will ever find a place in that city. Neither
oh my goodness.
Neither whatsoever worketh abomination, nor anything tending in the direction of pride or sectarianism.
Holy cow! How could you Jehovah's Witnesses not be working with an abomination when you hide the fact that you've been hiding pedophiles in your organization? How is that not an abomination? You state here that God is giving you all of this new light. God's directing your organization. God is
responsible for this,
but yet, God can reveal all this to you, but yet at the same time, you're hiding a pedophilia and child abuse problem? You are the abomination.
Oh, you're going to get riled at this next one.
Probably.
Or maketh a lie, nor anything countenancing the teaching of error for pleasure or profit.
Oh my goodness, how could you not destroy the cross in your reasoning book? You manufactured a lie regarding even the cross of Christ. My goodness.
For profit?
For profit. They're doing this for profit.
But they which are written in the Lamb's book of the life of heaven, the Lamb's book of life, we must understand to include only those who attain to the position of joint I can't talk today. Heirship.
Heirship, there you go.
Heirship. Who uses that word anymore?
Well, it's like your family heirs.
Yeah, but
heirloom.
Heirship with Christ, those whose names are written in heaven during this gospel age and who are faithful to their covenant.
Faithful to the covenant? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Easy with the book.
Hold the phone. The covenant, Jehovah's Witnesses, is another word for your foundation. Simple as that. Now, you read something earlier about the 144,000 times 144 and all of that nonsense.
Yeah, that's how many is going to be on the earth in paradise.
Jehovah's Witnesses, go and get your hard copy, because if you go to jw.org or your CD-ROM, it's on a different page. And then Mike and Kim are going to look like liars. Get your hard copy. This is the, what edition?
I believe this is the original 1963 edition.
Yep, 1963, page 226. Getting to your 144,000, because remember...
266.
Yeah, 266, thank you. Getting to that number at the end of the millennial reign, the 20 billion, whatever, you're trying to put a literal number of God's people at the end of that.
In the measurements of New Jerusalem.
In the measurements, what you Jehovah's Witnesses do not comprehend, and I hope that you will comprehend, that when you talk to a Jehovah Witness and ask them, at Revelation 14, that number of the 144,000, those that are sealed, are they symbolic or are they literal numbers? Because in order to come up with an approximate literal number at the end of the millennial reign, you have to convince yourself that the 144,000 are literal numbers. This is what Watchtower says. Second column towards the top, 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th line down. It is only the revelation that tells us the number of those bought from the earth to enter the kingdom, 144,000. And this number is sealed out of 12 symbolic tribes of Israel. If the 12 tribes are symbolic, Jehovah's Witnesses, sows that number and then sows their bullshit calculation to try to come up with 20 billion plus people at the end of the 1,000 years.
And that's a good example of what we read in the Zion's Watchtower from 1905. He took symbolic measurements of New Jerusalem and tried to make it out of a real number of those who would be alive at the end of the millennium.
A literal application. Now, I know Kim and I have gone on here, and some of you are saying, well, what does this have to do with the broadcast? Well, there is a redeeming factor.
Well, I was going to say, do you think Watchtower will be able to redeem themselves and get something good out of all of this history?
Wait, are you asking me that question, or are you asking this to kind of mock Jehovah's Witnesses?
Both.
Well, do I think that there is a redeeming factor? No, because you cannot redeem yourself no matter how many times you take a shower. The bullshit is so impregnated in the skin, it runs through the entire process, just like you heard the JW in the very beginning. We want to thank you, for, the organization thanks you.
Well, they're going to be thanking the organization because Jehovah's Witnesses, you can thank your organization now because they are taking your donations and they are paying for something similar to Doctors Across Borders, that UN humanitarian aid that they do. So let's play the clip.
In some parts of the world, our brothers and sisters are in deep poverty and lack even the basic needs for life. But this does not diminish Jehovah's feelings for them. He loves them dearly. In this next report, see what's been done to care for faithful brothers and sisters in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay, now when we get into this, I want you to remember this guy's words, the propaganda. Many of our brothers and sisters, they're in deep poverty. They lack the basic needs for life. And look and see what Jehovah has done to care for your brothers and sisters. Now, as we go through this, we're going to point out to you Jehovah's Witnesses what might not be so obvious to you on the surface. So let's carry on.
My name is Maska Mahamba. I love the preaching work. However, my various illnesses prevent me from giving my all in the ministry.
Ma première femme,
My first wife died, and we had 6 children.
6 enfants. Je suis resté seul avec
I was alone with the 6 children, and then I married Beatrice, who has 5 children.
5 enfants. Comme nous sommes
Since we are living in the last days of this system, it is not easy.
I like the example of Jesus, who was passionate about preaching the message that he shared. But at the same time, he took into account the suffering of the people of his time. He would take time to show kindness, to encourage, and to heal.
The branch sees where there is a need and then organizes a humanitarian mission.
I believe I can use my medical skills to help our brothers. It is love, not just in writing, but in action.
It's a real joy to help these brothers who need us in remote locations, far from towns. It is always a pleasure.
There's a couple of things we noticed in this clip. I'll let you do yours first.
Well, Jehovah's Witnesses, did you look in the background? Now remember, to qualify it again, he said deep poverty. They lack the basic needs for life. Well, did you see, even in the background, any unkept, torn, tattered clothing? No, all the clothing looked like they were neat and clean. Even the JWs have nice, neat clothing. For this part of the Congo that's supposed to be deeply in poverty, did you notice that all of the benches, the tables, were all fine African wood? Did you see anybody sitting on a 5-gallon bucket to show what kind of poverty these people were in? Did you notice that when they had the aerial view of that little area that they're supposed to be in, all the roofs, yeah, tin roofs, yes, but they all appeared to be in good working order to shed water. Where's the deep poverty that Watchtower's referring to here? Well, I haven't seen it yet, but this is the contrast.
Well, look at the people themselves. I've seen pictures of African countries where they're in deep poverty and don't have the basic needs. They're skeletons. They don't have, enough to eat.
Well,
but everybody looks in pretty good shape so far.
Everybody looks healthy, except for the ones, that turn to the camera and they give that disparaging look.
Yeah. Now, did you also notice, this is the important part about this clip I wanted to bring out. Jehovah's Witnesses and the world. Did you notice they're setting up a medical clinic inside the Kingdom Hall? Do they do this for anyone else? All these other countries, where the brothers and sisters are having medical problems, have they done any of this for you?
Well, it reminds me of Jesus' words that if you take care of your brothers only, what benefit is it to you? You need to reach outside the organization for it to have any benefit with God.
It reminds me, my dad had a heart attack back in the mid-'80s. He was not able to work. My parents were in severe poverty. They were destitute. Mike and I were trying to help him as much as we could, but, we didn't make that much money. But we were taking him groceries and stuff. But I can remember them going to the elders and humbly asking, can you please just help us a little bit? Because we're going to have the electricity shut off and stuff. And the brothers could not help them.
That's right.
Could not help them. The elders never brought them food, never helped with money, nothing. And they were both in good standing.
Yeah. So this is just absolute propaganda that they're filling the minds again with the Jehovah's Witnesses to give the impression that this is all Jehovah's doing. But there's some more in these clips that the eyeball of the Jehovah Witness is not going to catch.
But Mikey notices some subliminal stuff.
Yes, some things that like, oh my God, because I'm training myself to look at the background, not the foreground, because this is all Jehovah's Witnesses focus on is the foreground and not the background. Now remember, this is the part of the Congo that is in deep, deep poverty. They lack the basic needs for life. Remember those words, Jehovah's Witnesses, because I'm going to point out the travesty in all of this.
Okay, so another clip.
Well, the two are the same. Both eardrums are completely perforated.
Well, we are here in the village of Walikale, in the middle of the forest, on the main road. Well, the only road in the village. It serves as our runway. I can't bear to see anyone suffer, so I use all my skills to try to find a solution.
Okay. Did you catch it? First of all, that older man that they were doing a health check on, he's the only one in this video that appears to fit the qualification of being deeply in poverty, lacking the basic needs for life. Now, if you didn't catch it, just scroll back a little bit, and when you see this bicycle, again, pause it. Notice in the background, the Batman shirt.
Deep poverty, but yet you can get a Batman shirt from America.
You can get a Batman shirt from America. Hey, Watchtower, whatever happened to you telling us Jehovah's Witnesses that we cannot be on a Kingdom Hall project or an Assembly Hall project with any logos or anything showing? You had to have no logos or nothing. Now, I know for those that have done any in-depth research as regards the Freemasons and their symbols, I have something that you might want to research if you had not done it yet. If you go to the old Batman series with
from the
60s with Adam West and Burt Ward, go to episode number 33. That's a huge Masonic number. Episode number 33. And if you can watch the whole program, you will see that there's a conversation between another gentleman and Aunt Harriet. And they're talking about a picture that's up on the wall at Stately Wayne Manor. And the gentleman is asking if that picture, if the person in that picture was a member of the Skull and Bones. And Aunt Harriet says, oh, no, no, no. He wasn't just a member. He founded the Skull and Bones. When you get into this, you will see that the bat signal, the Batman signal, is a Freemason, a Freemasonic symbol. Now, I'm going to qualify this because right here, Watchtown Bible Tract Society does not blur out this Batman signal. But in a later clip, they have a young child that has what appears to be a rainbow on his shirt. They blur that out. So I got a question. Why are you not blurring out this Batman signal, but yet on this other person's shirt, you blur out what appears to be a rainbow? I find that very, very telling.
Well, when we were working on the remodel of the Kingdom Hall in Cottonwood, Arizona, if I would have been on the roof working on, doing the roofing, wearing a Batman shirt, I would have been sent home.
Yeah, well, no, you were told to cover it up or go home and get another shirt.
But I guess because they're in deep poverty, they just have to take what they can get at the local thrift store or something.
That's true. But at the same time, Watchtower goes to the extra length to blur out what appears to be a rainbow, but they don't blur this one out.
Like I said, there's some good stuff in here.
What moves me to help the brothers is what Jesus said, that there is more happiness in giving than in receiving.
A long day, really very tiring. But at the same time, there was an encouraging case. Brother Minyakaragwe, 68 years old, 10 years in regular pioneer service, and he has 15 Bible studies. This brother came from the territory on a motorcycle. It took him 2.5 hours on a very rough road instead of 1.5 hours because he has a paralyzed leg. And he was able to go back to his field service, well, with some medication. So it was really encouraging to see him getting on the motorcycle with a smile on his face.
These are mosquito nets for those in need, and there's a big need here, so we give them to each family.
You know, to protect your baby, one of the best things is for him to sleep under a mosquito net.
Jehovah has done well because he has gone through you to provide us with care.
We are very grateful. We thank the many brothers who have volunteered to serve us.
Now you may be wondering, these people are in deep poverty. How could they possibly have sunglasses for their kids?
Or the mosquito nets were just given to them.
Yeah.
But did you notice the rainbow shirt? It's blurred out. That's
Why?
what I was talking about. Why? Why do you go to the extra length to blur out that symbol on that young person's t-shirt, but you didn't blur out the Batman symbol? Interesting.
Just food for thought, huh?
Yep. Deep thought.
Yeah.
We got more.
Yeah, because it's actually going to show where they get the sunglasses.
I thank Jehovah, because without him, our identifying mark of unity wouldn't exist.
You have helped me. I had this problem for 2 years. Now I'm so happy I will be able to hear at the meetings again.
Now, if you notice, this brother standing in front of the information board, and he's talking about the hearing aids they gave him. You know, and I just want to mention, how many others have they helped by giving hearing aids?
They didn't help your dad.
No. No. You know, I know of many who need hearing aids or, you know, glasses or something like that, that they haven't helped them. So why this, you know, in the Congo, in the deep poverty, when they help no one else in the world, none of their other members with stuff like this, like hearing aids?
Because this is a propaganda film.
But Mike noticed something. If you look to the right of him, it would be his left, but to us, it would be to his right. There's something blurred out there.
If you really, Jehovah's Witnesses, pay attention to the background. Now remember, you're told these people are in deep poverty. They lack the basic needs for life. Just a quick note. Go back and watch all of these Jehovah's Witnesses that are in deep poverty, lack the basic needs of life. I find it kind of ironic that all of their teeth are in perfect shape. For the most part. Maybe a little discolored as in this old gentleman's, but the sister before, her teeth were really white and perfect. So that is not indicative of people that are in deep poverty, lacking the basic needs of life. But if you look behind this gentleman, you know they're at a Kingdom Hall. There's a wooden box.
Kind of looks like a contribution box, doesn't it?
But isn't it interesting, Watchtower, that I caught that their sign is blurred out? Do you not want your Jehovah Witnesses worldwide to catch that that's a contribution box and it may say contribution box? If you're filming this in an area that is deep in poverty, these people lack the basic needs of life, but yet you can still put a contribution box at that Kingdom Hall, and then how convenient you blur out the fact that it's a contribution box. See, if it was anything other than a contribution box, you wouldn't go to the length that you have to blur it out. So you don't want the minds of your Jehovah's Witnesses here in the United States or wherever, where they're going to start contributing to the worldwide work. You don't want them to realize that they're contributing for nothing, because you're in an area where your Jehovah's Witnesses can contribute can't they? So maybe they're not in as deep a poverty as you are trying to project in this piece of propaganda bullcrap.
Either that, or how low of Watchtower to be in this area that supposedly is in deep poverty, and you still have the gall to ask for money for them? Do you read the letters about they have to, contribute to the Global Assistance Fund, $7 per year?
Yeah, exactly.
That shows how low they are.
That's how despicable these people are. But see, for the Jehovah's Witness that is, still trapped in the mindset and refuse to think critically, you will never ever catch the fact that that sign's been blurred out. You just won't do it. You'll look at this piece of propaganda and say, oh, I'm so glad that my worldwide contributions are providing sunglasses and mosquito nets.
Yeah.
What about providing mosquito nets for the neighbors of these people? You don't mention nothing about that. No, it's only helping your own. What benefit is it to you, Watchtower, when you only help your own kind? No, the true human love, the true human compassion is extended when you do it to people that are not of like faith.
And I forgot to mention earlier, one thing I did mention is it shows these doctors and nurses flying in on a plane and that, crippled brother getting out. And we already know Watchtower has their own planes.
Yeah.
Because, we did a video about this, years ago. I don't remember what the name of it was, but they do have their own plane. You can even find it in the Proclaimer's book in the pictures.
This is really looking more and more like Doctors Across Borders, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I got to ask, again, at this point, who are you producing this piece of propaganda for, Watchtower?
Oh, I know.
You know?
Yeah. This is to show that they're like the UN and do humanitarian aid. They're providing medical help for those destitute members because it makes them look good to the world after the Russian ban and the Australian Royal Commission fiasco that they don't care about their members.
So it's damage control.
Yeah.
Damn it. Oh, I should have seen that even before I saw that bat signal, before I saw the bat sign. You know I'm mocking you, right, Watchtower?
Oh, yeah. They know. They know us. All right, so we got a little bit more.
Thank you. The brothers are aware that they must thank Jehovah, and we ourselves are aware that all of this is possible thanks to Jehovah's Holy Spirit and his organization.
So that's about all of the broadcasts that I can handle.
Yeah, if you decide to watch the rest of it, and as they're leaving this part of the Congo, you'll see that these people live in lush, green, fertile land. How could they not be growing their own food and reach the level of poverty or the level of destitution that Watchtower is trying to claim here? It's because it's nothing but propaganda BS, and somehow, some way, Watch trying to sell this propaganda to some organization elsewhere, probably to get another boatload of money for all of your hard work that you're doing to relieve poverty in the world.
Well, I think that's what that last little text that came up on the video was.
Yeah.
Since 1991, over 70 relief missions have been conducted in 13 countries. Over 50,000 consultations took place, and hundreds of tons of humanitarian aid were distributed. But I thought their most important work was preaching the kingdom to save lives. I thought that was the most important thing.
Well, what's so deceiving about this is that they don't tell you it was only for the Jehovah's Witnesses. See, remember, go back to Katrina. Remember what the Jehovah's Witnesses were told? If somebody came in and did some roof work, and then they presented a bill and said, now when you remember, when you get your, remember, when you get your insurance check, this is how much it would have cost if a worldly contractor did this. That's already been documented, Watchtower. We're not going to forget any of that. And this is the same damn thing that you're trying to pull here. You only work to help Jehovah's Witnesses first and foremost.
That's what the contribution box was for. They have their little clipboard and said, this is how much a doctor visit would have cost you if you would have went to a worldly doctor. But we're giving the mosquito net and sunglasses to you and medical care for free, and all the medicine and hearing aids and everything is for free. So when you do get some money, think of, donating to help out your other brothers and sisters.
There's the scam. Exposed again, Watchtower. Hey, Watchtower.
This is their track record.
Yeah. Aren't we the two apostates that you just love to hate? You would love to get us more copyright strikes so we'd be gone forever, wouldn't you? See, we don't forget these things, Watchtower, and we continuously throw them back in your laps.
Mike, Kim, love, hate.
Yeah, exactly what it is. Okay, I think we've gone on long enough, haven't we?
Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with us to the end. We know that this was long, but we had a lot to cover, and the kids are coming out, so we couldn't do a bunch of videos.
And that reminds me, we have a special request for a video, and it's going to involve our daughter, Shyla, so look forward to that.
Well, we can mention that. But first, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all of you fathers this coming Sunday, because I know how difficult it is for those of you who do not have your children with you, who are still stuck in the cold. So happy Father's Day, and we're thinking about all of you. And yes, we have had a special request for some in the deaf community of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses for Shyla to interpret the 1975 clip from the regional convention. And she has agreed to do that for us. And so we're hoping to have that up Saturday or Sunday. And so then that way you can share that clip with all of your deaf, friends.
Yeah.
And all of the deaf, support groups and everything, because it is very important that everybody knows what they're saying about the 1975 during the 2017 regional convention this year.
Yeah. Yeah. They are owning it.
Yeah.
They are owning it.
Yes. So we're looking forward to a great weekend, and thank you so much, everybody, for your comments and emails and love and support. We just love you guys all to pieces, and we couldn't do this without all of you,
Yes.
And I'm about halfway through April's emails, and so thank you for your patience. And I will get to everybody. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all of you who are just starting to wake up. And thank you for your patience on waiting to hear back from me. And it's just incredible. It's incredible. It really is. So much going on. Somebody had sent me a list that's on my Facebook of a list of Kingdom Halls that have gone up for sale. And there is a lot. So for those of you on my Facebook, if you can find that post, and it was an actual website, to share that, my goodness, there is a lot of Kingdom Halls up for sale. So this is good. This is excellent. This is excellent. So,
buddy, enjoy the weekend. It's been a pleasure to sit here and expose these knuckleheads for who and what they truly are, to show that your foundation, Jehovah's Witnesses, your foundation comes nothing but from a group of people sharing a bong somewhere at Watchtower.
I think some of that 5 million pounds of opium found its way to Watchtower in Brooklyn, New York.
Because you know what, Watchtower, you just can't dream this stuff up on your own. There has to be some sort of drug influence to get to this lunacy that you have projected.
Yeah, I mean, this is just crazy, and this is your foundation.
This is their foundation, exactly.
You may be trying to divorce yourself from, that history, but you can't.
We ain't gonna let it happen.
You can't. So goodbye, everybody. Love you. Bye.
That is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for Skull and Bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.